Let's start with the good news. No matter how many times you see this, U.S. men's hockey beating Canada, it doesn't get old. Even FBI Director Kash Patel was in on the celebration, and what a spectacular win. It took the United States men's hockey team 46 years since the Miracle on Ice in 1980 to reclaim the gold, and what a thrill, and not just for the team, but for all of us. This hour, I'll speak with Ken Morrow, that U.S. hockey gold medal winning team 46 years ago. And now to the not-so-good news. In fact, it's horrible news. At this moment, Americans are in danger, trapped, no flights out, as cartels light cars on fire, block roads, and cause chaos. We're going to tell you where this is and what sparked this danger. Also ahead, more than 500,000 people are without power. Thousands of flights have been canceled. The blizzard in the Northeast causing major problems, not just in the Northeast, but across the country. And shocking news from Mar-a-Lago, Florida. It happened again. Fair to say, a third attempt on President Trump's life, as this guy was up to no good. He had a gun, a shotgun, and a canister of what appeared to be fuel. The armed suspect is now dead. Before he could do anything catastrophic, he was killed. But first, breaking news out of the United Kingdom. This related to Jeffrey Epstein. You remember last week, former Prince Andrew was arrested. Well, today there was another big arrest. Who? The former British ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson. He is suspected of misconduct in public office. Police have been investigating Mandelson over allegations he passed sensitive government information to Epstein. Royals commentator and journalist Josh Rom joins me. Josh, what's the latest there? It's not good news, obviously.
Nope, not good news at all, especially for the Labour government. This is news that Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, would not want to hear as fresh questions come over the Prime Minister's judgment. So just days after former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was arrested, we now just this afternoon at about 4:30 p.m. UK time, Peter Mandelson, former minister and, of course, ambassador to the United States, was led away by two cops. The Met Police has been investigating him over allegations of misconduct in public office. Peter Mandelson's position has always been he denies any sort of criminal wrongdoing and did not seek to have any financial gain over his links to convicted paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. But this is not going to be good news for the Prime Minister, as questions remain over his judgment. The Prime Minister still seeks to release documents pertaining to Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He is keen to state that Peter Mandelson lied during the vetting process when it came to his appointment as US ambassador. However, before those files are released, we do not know whether they're going to be released due to this new investigation. Now that he has been arrested, not yet charged, so we know, but this is not good news for the British government at all.
You know, Josh, the plum job for the United States is to be the ambassador of Britain. So likewise, I assume that being the ambassador for Britain to the United States is the plum job. I cannot understand how he got appointed. He was even, as a matter, to give you a little local talk here, is that he replaced Ambassador Karen Pierce, who was well-liked. Everybody loved her. She was here for about 4 or 5 years. And then he showed up, and nobody's particularly happy with him. But why did he get the job?
Well, he got the job presumably for his connections. Peter Mandelson was known to be a lover of two things, power and money, and was known to be a schmoozer, was known to, at least was thought, I think the Labour government thought that he would have connections. Some actually do speculate that the unspoken word is that actually maybe he was appointed due to his ties potentially with the late financier Jeffrey Epstein. Some say that actually, with all the stuff going on, with all the files being released across the pond by the Justice Department, that actually somebody in that position who knew those circles would be able to maybe mitigate some of the shock factor in Washington and help again smooth that special relationship that the UK and the US have. amid this scandal, which the tentacles seem to be reverberating across both the United States and across the pond to the UK. So maybe that's potentially why he was appointed, not because, not in spite of these allegations, but maybe, and I state, maybe it's because of them.
Was he friendly or pals with Andrew, now former Prince Andrew?
Well, that remains to be seen whether the two had any sort of personal relationship. I think it's very probable to say that Peter Mandelson, being in the upper echelons of the political establishment in the United Kingdom, would potentially have come across the then Prince Andrew when he was UK trade envoy. Then Prince Andrew being a somewhat of an influential figure in the establishment, having then the ties to royalty, having ties to the establishment. So it's fair to say that the pair would have known each other, I think. But I think when Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was arrested, I think people thought, well, this is only going to be days before Peter Mandelson was arrested. But I will say that these are two different police forces investigating the pair. With Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, it was Thames Valley Police. With Peter Mandelson, it was the Met Police, the London Police. Both of these characters, when the police released these statements, the police didn't actually name the originals. They just said their ages, and both of them have also been arrested for misconduct in public office and not anything necessarily to do with any sort of sex crimes. We know Peter Mandelson as well, his sexuality, he was gay. So maybe I doubt any sort of link with when it comes to any sort of alleged sexual activity with Jeffrey Epstein, but it's still nefarious nonetheless.
Josh Rom, thank you as always.
Thank you very much, Greta.
And American tourists in Mexico have been told shelter in place. They are now trapped in Mexico without flights to leave. This after widespread cartel retaliation that included cars lit on fire and roads blocked. The violence of retaliation erupted after the Mexican army killed a powerful cartel leader. His name, Nemesio Ruben Aceguera Cervantes. He was known as El Mencho. He was head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The cartel was notorious for trafficking drugs into the United States. Those drugs that have killed thousands and thousands of Americans include fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. The cartel leader was killed in a shootout in the Mexican state of Jalisco. Jalisco is a state in Mexico's west. It is home to the popular tourist city Puerto Vallarta. Earlier, we heard from Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum.
El día de hoy ya hay más tranquilidad y hay gobierno, hay Fuerzas Armadas, hay gabinete de seguridad y hay mucha coordinación. Entonces pueden estar tranquilos de que se está resguardando la paz, la seguridad y la normalidad en el país.
Former U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Antonio Garza, joins me. Good afternoon, sir. Very disturbing, frightful for Americans trying to get out of Mexico at this hour. Tell me, who wins this battle with the cartel, the Mexican government of Sheinbaum or the cartel?
Well, right now, I think you'd have to say advantage Sheinbaum. In terms of directionally, this is the most significant hit and movement in the direction of modifying the security strategy in the country in nearly a decade. El Mencho, Osorio Cervantes, was a top target, both of the U.S. and Mexico, and the efforts to take him out have been broad, and these things don't happen overnight. These individuals are well protected. It was a well-executed plan, and I think in coordination and cooperation, the utilization of U.S. supplied intelligence was a part of this. But this was in every respect a Mexican victory and one for Sheinbaum.
Can she fight on two fronts, though? Because if she's fighting on the west with this cartel, there's another cartel she's been fighting with, Sinaloa cartel, on the east. So now she's basically got two cartels, and they are very fierce, and many of them, own the cops and own the judges and prosecutors, so we hear. Can she fight on those two fronts at one time?
Well, I think if you look at the Sinaloa cartel, the rise of the CNG, the Nueva Generación Jalisco, was in large part to efforts to decapitate El Chapo in 2016 and his son, I think, a few years later, and more recently, Mayo Zambada, were all leaders in the Sinaloa cartel, gave rise in a bit to the opportunity the space created for the rise of CNG. So, yeah, I mean, Greta, it's tough to fight a two-front war. More critically, I think, in the wake of these decapitations or the cartel leadership, what you have is succession battles. And so I don't doubt that as we saw after Chapo was taken out and Mayo Zambada arrested and sent to the U.S., there's going to be, violence on the street. In this case, I think you're likely to see a bit more because unlike the Sinaloa cartel, which is sort of a confederation of families, let's say, Generación Jalisco was entirely a command control of El Mencho, Suara Cervantes. So I think you're going to see more violence in the wake of it. She's dispatched large numbers of military elements to the region, but it's quite widespread. You saw the list of areas impacted. So there's some real concerns. It seems to have quieted down a bit this afternoon, but certainly, I wouldn't be recommending travel into the area for Americans at this point, and only with extreme caution. Kind of would I venture out into the streets around Michoacan or Jalisco in the next several days?
Is it true that I made the reference that there are a lot of police are working for these cartels. Are there police being paid off by cartels in significant numbers? And do you make more money guarding the cartel than you do as a police officer?
Well, that's been the traditional sense of what was going on. And I have always characterized the involvement of law enforcement as very uneven, Greta. In the sense of from region to region at the local, state, and federal level. Clearly, there's some good law enforcement people in this country. Likely the interagency task force that cooperated with the United States on the exchange of intelligence in this operation had a high degree of confidence with the people they were working with. So you've got good people on the street, but no doubt you've got some bad officers in pockets around the country. And I would characterize it as uneven, but the fact that this was able to be pulled off as effectively as it was at such a high level target with the exchange of intelligence that was actionable in real time suggests that there were some very good people working on this.
Well, we're hoping that it ends quickly, that Sheinbaum can win this war. It's a tough one. Ambassador Antonio Garza, thank you, sir.
Greta, thank you.
Coming up, the State of the Union or a midterm campaign speech. What will be President Trump's message tomorrow night in the heavily anticipated State of the Union? Plus, back in the political game, why one state wants former President Biden's help. That when the record continues.
Donald Trump's second presidency is changing America. Now you need to watch Rob Schmitt tonight on President Trump's next big move. Then tune into Rob Finnerty taking on Trump's critics. President Trump says he watches Newsmax. You should too. Download our Newsmax app to watch us anytime, anywhere. Millions are making the switch to Newsmax. Be one.
Precise designs, subtle curves, curated upgrades, elevated design for thoughtful living. Thuma.
I'm Yalmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now, Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Well, tomorrow night, that's the big chance for a president, this time President Trump, to deliver a message to Americans ahead of the rapidly approaching midterm elections. The president will stand feet from the Supreme Court justices. 6 of them just days ago ruled against his tariffs, and as you know, he is not happy about that. As the president, though, speaks to all America, what is the president expected to say, knowing some Americans are angry over his immigration and economic policies? Meanwhile, let us look ahead to 2028, which is not that far away. About 12 states right now are jockeying to be the first state to vote in the Democratic presidential primary. That includes South Carolina. You may recall 3 years ago, the Democrat National Committee shook up its entire primary calendar. Axios is reporting South Carolina wants former President Biden's help this year to get the first Democratic primary. You may recall that in 2020, President Biden looked down and out after losing the Iowa caucuses, the New Hampshire primary, and Nevada caucuses. And then South Carolina was his last chance. In came longtime South Carolina Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn. He endorsed Biden. Biden not only won South Carolina, he used it as to catapult him to a win in the South Carolina primary and eventually the general election. The Democrat National Committee will decide the 2028 primary order in the coming months. Craig, CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp joins me. Nice to see you, Matt.
Good to be with you, Greta. I'm just always amazed how much race drives politics in the Democratic Party. They want South Carolina, much more diverse electorate, and they're willing to, throw over to the side New Hampshire and Iowa, which have been at the beginning or the head of the pack forever.
I think Iowa was since about 1973 or something, which feels, or 1972, which feels forever, or whenever it was something like that.
Just shows you how things have changed.
Things have changed indeed. A lot has changed. All right, tomorrow night, the president speaks to the nation. Do you think he, at this moment, has written his speech? Or do you think there's much to come? And do you think he is going to go off script tomorrow night?
Well, this is a better question for Mercy, who, of course, worked for President Trump in his first term.
Mercy being your wife.
Yes, and she was involved in this process. And I think he always knows what he wants to say. And my guess, a lot of it will fall along the lines of what you said in the introduction. His successes, of which there are dozens and dozens too many to mention, but also this latest skirmish on tariffs, which I think will be uppermost in his mind. It's very legally controversial. Every lawyer I talk to has a different opinion on it. And then the question of the economy. He knows this whole question of affordability and kind of the middle-class take on the economy will determine the midterms, and he wants to win that debate.
Is it going to be a speech or a mega rally or some combination of both? What do you expect?
Well, you got a lot of Democrats who are boycotting. You got these women who I find it interesting. They're all like they color code their outfits. Women say, "Don't judge me on my looks."
I usually wear whatever closest to the door of the
These
closet.
women say, "Don't judge me on my looks or my clothing." In every State of the Union, it's all about their clothing. Why don't we not focus on their clothing?
Well, they like to do the white for the right to vote, or women's right to vote,
which was a Republican effort. But I'm so glad that they're in on my color. That's good. But look, I think at the end of the day, Trump is going to be aggressive, more aggressive than other presidents. It'll be a little bit rally-ish because he always talks to people in terms of his political successes, and he will at this State of the Union again. But look, I know the people inside the White House are very sober about the fact that if they lose the midterms, they don't get a Supreme Court pick that they want, and he will be impeached. It's a guarantee.
Well, it's a long road from the State of the Union to the midterms, and in between this long road, a lot can happen in the economy, a lot can happen in war, a lot can happen in a lot of things. But the other interesting thing that Trump is doing in the Republican Party is they're having a midterm convention.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know, have they picked the city yet?
I don't know what to make of this. I don't really know. I assume they're going to do it. They say they're going to do it.
I think it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt their word. It's novel. I mean, I'm all for innovation. Just don't take your eye off the ball, right? Which is we've got to win in each of these contested seats, and I just hope that having the convention helps us do that.
I think the Democrats will copy and have one because, look, we in the media will follow it. We'll all be there, you know, whether it's Democrat or Republican. It'll be a show. Nobody can put on a better show than Trump. It'll be time for him to showcase everything he's done right before the election. I think everyone's going to forget what's said, you know, earlier on in the term than what happens right before the election when they vote. They'll probably do it before early voting starts.
And look, what's smart about it is it puts Trump front and center in the election. When Trump is front and center, despite what Republicans used to say, Republicans do better. They want Trump to be on the ballot. When you vote for your Republican candidate for the House or the Senate, they want you to be thinking about Trump's policies versus Biden's failures.
Well, you know, I mean, tomorrow night, if he dazzles everybody, that of course will help all the Republicans in the room. But you know, the fact that Democrats are boycotting it, is that novel?
It's dumb. They look like children.
But have Republicans ever done? I can't remember.
Yeah, we thought about it with Clinton, especially when all of his scandals came out with Monica Lewinsky and stuff. And it was actually Newt Gingrich who told everyone to act like grown-ups. Like, if you're elected to Congress, do the job. And I would say the same thing to Democrats. The only reason, one of the reasons they won't get the majority, and I don't think they will get the majority when I look at it now, is because they are too radical and they look like idiots when you see them on TV, like at these hearings. That's their biggest problem.
Anyway, Matt Schlapp, always nice to see you. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Greta.
Also, be sure to tune in tomorrow night to Newsmax coverage of the State of the Union. I'll be hosting it with my colleague Rob Finnerty. Coverage begins tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Please watch. And today, the stock market fell amid new tariffs and reported fears of an AI disruption. President Trump said he is raising global tariffs 15%. The president's decision was in response to the Supreme Court saying the president's previous tariffs are illegal. Here's how the markets looked at close of the session at 4 p.m. Eastern. The Dow fell 1.66%. The Nasdaq was down 1.13%, and the S&P 500 dropped 1.04%. Coming up, does Secretary of State Marco Rubio have yet another job? Hear what the internet is saying. That when the record continues.
Hi, I'm Bianca Della Garza. What I love about working with Newsmax is the relationship we have with our viewers. So smart, so informed, it allows us to deliver powerful analysis, the sharpest viewpoints on the issues that really matter.
Go to balanceofnature.com and subscribe and save today.
When I'm congested, I can't breathe, can't sleep. That's why I Navage. The powered suction gives me the power to remove congestion fast by flushing out germs, mucus, bacteria, and viruses. In like 30 seconds, I can feel the results.
Get #1 doctor-recommended Navage.
So, here is a before of my stomach before Sonobello, and this is after.
This year, don't just lose weight, lose stubborn fat and sagging extra skin permanently at Sonobello.
I wanted the results of the tummy tuck, but not the downtime.
We've helped over 300,000 people transform.
If you want that flat stomach, you go get that flat stomach.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation. Our flexible payment options make it easy to get started today. Call or go to sonobello.com right now.
Set sail toward fast asthma relief with Brethora.
$300 for a refill?
Don't pay that. Use Single Care. Look up your prescription, show the coupon to the pharmacist, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Are you worried the IRS might come after you? It's not just a money issue, it's a life issue. Back taxes can wreck finances, destroy credit, and leave you stuck in constant stress. Dr. Phil here, and I've got news for you. Millions of Americans are behind on taxes, and many settle for far less than they owe. If you owe more than $10,000 or have unfiled returns, Protection Tax can help. Stop fighting alone. Their tax experts and licensed professionals deal with the IRS so you don't have to. They can settle personal or business-backed taxes no matter how serious your issue is. They've saved their clients millions. If you're overwhelmed, don't wait. Now is the time to take action. Call Protection Tax for a free confidential consultation. Take the first step and take your life back.
This is the story of the one who doesn't just see a broken dock. He sees lost revenue, a late night, and work stalled to a halt. Thankfully, he has the experience to handle whatever comes his way and has Grainger on his side, offering access to technical product specialists and the scale to deliver fast, so he can keep his business in gear and always moving forward. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mother Nature sure can be vicious, just plain mean. She unleashed the biggest snowstorm in years on the Northeast. This blizzard started yesterday, but continues to cause much trouble even to right now. 2 feet of snow has already dropped in parts of New York and Massachusetts. Powerful winds are knocking over trees and downing power lines. As of this afternoon, more than 500,000 Americans are without power. And this is not just a Northeast problem, it is an all across America problem, because airports from coast to coast are feeling the pain, which means so are thousands and thousands and thousands of passengers. According to FlightAware data, from yesterday until today, there have been more than 9,000 flight cancellations and 9,000 flight delays. That means nearly 20,000 flights affected just 2 days, with an ongoing impact. Correspondent Jon Glasgow joins me from Weehawken, New Jersey, which is right across the river from New York City. And John, it looks a little cold. You're up to your knees in snow, it looks like.
And that's right. I wanted to show you exactly how much snow fell here in New Jersey. This was one of the harder hit areas in the tri-state with this powerful storm that moved through. It's been snowing pretty much for the last 12 hours here, and it's just started to, the snow intensity has just let up here. So I want to go through what's happened here in the last 12 hours is people have been trying to clean up. That life just getting back to normal now. But there were state of emergencies in place here in both New Jersey as well as in New York. So people were told to stay off the roads and also to make sure that this travel ban that was in place, the people that could have been pulled over if they were on the road. So transportation was a major issue here, Greta, for the buses, the trains, the ferries, they all stopped service. Some of these travel bans have now been lifted, but here in New Jersey, the governor told the drivers to stay off the roads. Utility crews now working across the state to restore power. 100,000 people lost power during this storm. And then at Newark Airport today, that terminal was nearly empty. About 20,000 flights got canceled or delayed across the U.S. Airports facing some major issues. Those include Boston, Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia. In New York City, though, they had that heavy snow as well, that wet, heavy snow, dangerous blizzard conditions. But for some of the tourists that were in town, well, they made for some very cool photos. Watch this.
It's exciting. We've been dancing in Times Square this morning in the middle of the road in rush hour. We've been just dancing and not believing we could do it.
And across the Hudson here over in New York City, the new mayor, Zoran Mamdani, he's lifted this travel ban that he put in place. So it was pretty eerie in New York City today when there was no traffic on the roads. That's now been lifted, but he is saying stay off the roads as long as you can because it is still very icy. Watch.
New York remains in a state of emergency. The travel ban has ended today at noon, but a hazardous travel advisory remains in place through midnight tonight. I continue to encourage all non-emergency traffic, cars, trucks, scooters, and e-bikes, to remain off the roads.
We'll see if the New Yorkers heed that warning. As for the schools, well, in New York City, the public schools are now going to be back to in-person tomorrow. Some of the schools across the tri-state, though, are going to stay closed. But here, 2 feet is what I measured out here, Greta. So clearly a lot of people could be using this snow, maybe for snowman or snowballs today.
And Jon Glasgow is from Canada, so you might be used to this. Sorry about the hockey game, John. Sorry about the gold.
Congrats
Next
to the
time.
American men and women.
And men and women, you're right. Jon Glasgow, thank you. Meteorologist Julia Fife joins me. Julia, what can you tell me?
Well, Greta, things finally looking up here in New York City. We're starting to see that system track to the east, off into the Atlantic. Still dealing with some heavy snowfall stretching from Boston all the way down into Rhode Island. Providence, Rhode Island broke a record today for the snowiest day on record. You can see the center of that storm continues to track east, where we went through that rapid intensification yesterday evening, where we started to see those winds really pick up and those heavy snow bands continue to pummel the coastline all the way from Maryland up into Maine. Now, as we head into around 8 o'clock, I think for the most part, we're just going to be dealing with some light snow stretching from Maine all the way down into Boston. And then by midnight, that all clears out into the Atlantic. So it's almost over. Just hold on for the next few hours. But this was a record-breaking storm. Islip Airport had the largest snowfall on record, measuring 29.1 inches. Newark Airport, the second largest snowfall on record, coming in at 27.1 inches. LaGuardia, 22.2 inches. JFK Airport, 19.8 inches. And Central Park, now the 9th biggest snowstorm in New York City, measuring at 19.7 inches this afternoon. Now, we do still have those blizzard warnings. They have taken most of New Jersey and Delaware and portions of Maryland out of those blizzard warnings. But northern New Jersey all the way up until Maine will be dealing with those blizzard conditions heading into the evening hours. Now, blizzard conditions basically just mean those gusty winds. It's going to be blowing that snow, causing that reduced visibility, and that criteria has to be met for at least 3 hours. That's why they issued those blizzard warnings. I think most of those will start to expire, but power outages have been a huge concern, especially as we headed into the afternoon. We have seen some improvement, but you can still see that bullseye over Massachusetts with over 250,000 customers still without power throughout that area, as we've seen wind gusts over 70 miles per hour. Again, as that low pressure continued to intensify very quickly yesterday evening. Another aspect of this storm was the heavy snow, and that's all due to the temperatures. They were actually pretty warm. We were kind of towing that line of the freezing mark. Current temperature in Philly, 39 degrees, 33 in New York, 30 in Nantucket, and 27 in Boston. So again, when you have that heavy snow on the power lines, that causes issues. We'll take it back to you, Greta.
Julia Fife, thank you.
Thank you.
And another crisis means another Secretary of State Marco Rubio job alert. Oh, we love that alert here on this show, so we hope you do too. Well, could Secretary Rubio have a new job handling the blizzard? This user on X, the Rican Memes, posted this picture. It shows an AI-generated photo of Secretary Rubio in snow gear and a shovel. The caption reads, quote, "Guess who just signed up to shovel snow in New York City?" Now, that got me wondering, could Rubio want my job? I posted this picture on X. It says, "Someone told me that Marco Rubio is trying to get my job. Should I be worried?" He was seen at Newsmax. I haven't received a response or note from the secretary, but I'm waiting. Coming up, who is the man who went to Mar-a-Lago 1:30 a.m. with a shotgun? That when the record continues.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing them.
I'm Elmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
And now here's Chris Cunahan with the Leaf Filter Gutter Report and what changing weather conditions can mean for your home. Chris?
Our patented leaf filter technology keeps your gutters clog-free year-round. No matter where you live, no matter the climate. Locally trained professionals will clean, repair, and install the Leaf Filter Gutter Protection System. Leaf Filter guarantees clog-free gutters for the life of your home. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salon Pass patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salon Pass. It's good medicine.
It was shocking news to wake up to this weekend. It happened again. Someone who looks like he wanted to harm President Trump. Yesterday, Secret Service says they shot and killed a man for trying to break into Mar-a-Lago. Authorities say the man was armed with a shotgun and a can of gasoline. Luckily, though, the president was not at Mar-a-Lago. But who is or who was the suspect and what was his motive? Senior correspondent John Huddy joins me from outside Mar-a-Lago. John?
Yeah, and Greta, the motive, I mean, that's one of those unanswered questions at this point, why this guy went onto the premises of Mar-a-Lago early in the morning on Sunday morning. What was his intentions? Did he know that the president and first lady, fortunately, were not here at Mar-a-Lago behind me at the time when this intruder went on to the grounds? But what we do know is who this person is. Police say that 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin of North Carolina entered through the North Gate entrance of Mar-a-Lago, basically near the intersection of Southern Boulevard and South Ocean Boulevard, kind of just behind me here. I'm standing along Southern Boulevard around 1:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, as an employee was coming out of that entrance. So he basically tried to breach that first security perimeter. Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw then described what happened next. Listen to this.
A deputy and 2 Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those 2 pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the 2 Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat.
Now, what we also know is Martin's family had reported him missing on Sunday after not hearing from him for about 24 hours. They said that was really uncharacteristic of him. And we're also learning that Martin, who reportedly comes from a very Trump-supporting family, who really never engaged in any political talk, but according to some family members and also police, had recently become obsessed with the Epstein files, drove down to Florida from North Carolina on Saturday, and according to police, picking up that shotgun and I guess the gas canister along the way at some point. Now, as I mentioned, the president and first lady were not at Mar-a-Lago. They've been here quite a bit. on the weekends. But this past weekend, they weren't there, fortunately. But this was obviously a concerning situation due to the threats on the president's life. As you know, Greta, earlier this month, Ryan Ruth, 60-year-old Ryan Ruth, was sentenced to life in federal prison for attempting to assassinate President Trump at his West Palm Beach golf course back in September of 2024. And in October of 2025, also, you may recall, a suspicious, what's referred to as a hunting nest, basically a hunter's nest, was found in the tree line just across Southern Boulevard from Palm Beach International Airport, PBI, where Air Force One actually lands and is parked, and where the presidential motorcade then drives from Air Force One, from PBI, the short distance to Mar-a-Lago. So at this point, Greta, the FBI, U.S. Secret Service, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office are all investigating Martin's background and his movements leading up to early Sunday morning at Mar-a-Lago behind me here. Greta?
John Huddy, thank you. Is a diplomatic solution with Iran still a possibility? Despite all the threats from President Trump and Iran's supreme leader, there is another round of nuclear talks set for this Thursday. The two sides will meet in Geneva, Switzerland. But meanwhile, there is movement going on in the Middle East. That is a sign. Middle East correspondent Zach Anders joins me from Tel Aviv, where it is 11:41 p.m. Zach.
Greta, hundreds of American jets and more than a dozen American warships repositioned here in the Middle East on a war footing. Now, in Tehran today, a remarkable showing by some brave university students who are openly defying the regime once again. Remember how this all started just before the new year. Now, protests verified in several locations. They started yesterday, continued again today. In one video, the students chant, "Not Gaza, not Lebanon. I would sacrifice my life for Iran." In another, "We'll fight, we'll die, we'll reclaim Iran," the students chanted. Now, it's difficult at this hour to assess how many were arrested here, and it should be noted that counter-protesters in support of the regime have been reported across Tehran in the last 48 hours as well. In Jerusalem today, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu telling Israelis the days ahead could be challenging, stating in Hebrew, quote, "The nation must stand shoulder to shoulder. I trust our strength and the citizens of Israel." New York Times reporting Sunday that the president is considering a limited opening strike on Iran if these next round of talks on Thursday fail, and then attempting to try and see if the regime will come back to the table after a first limited set of strikes. Now, to our north in Beirut, a concerning warning sign. Non-essential staff and what appears to be American soldiers as well evacuated from the American embassy, and we think an American soldier presence. We're basing this off the terminal there in Beirut's airport, international airport. A lot of American soldiers in camo at the check-in counters. Now, one of the main, I would say the last signal, Greta, we would see if any, is something that has happened a few times before, and that's the U.S. Embassy and the staff here in Israel being told to shelter in place. That was a warning that we got before the last couple of rounds of missile attacks from Iran. That usually preceded the main event by about an hour or two. So if that was something that would happen, we would come on the air with that breaking news, and that would be a sign that something is imminent based on the historical precedent here. But right now, just a waiting game, Greta, as we're looking out across the region, airports, airlines, everybody's very hesitant about what could come next.
Zach Anders in Tel Aviv, thank you. Coming up, he fought the Soviets on ice and won. He meant the gold. A member of the Miracle on Ice team joins me. That when the record continues.
Rob trusts Prevagen for his brain, and this is his story.
I'm Rob. I run a sanctuary for tigers in Southern California. I've been working with tigers for over 30 years. I found that I was taking various supplements for my physical health. I wanted to take something for my brain as well. After taking Prevagen, I felt more confident. I felt more in the moment. I stopped taking Prevagen for a while, and I noticed a difference. I got right back on it. Prevagen really works.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Not again. Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming!
Thanks, Revere.
We really need to keep Zycam in the house.
Only if you want to shorten your cold.
When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zycam.
Larry was in a really bad accident and broke his neck. In the line of days, I get a phone call early one morning from the Tunnel Towers Foundation. Said, we're going to provide you and your family with a smart home. At that time, I just almost just passed out. I just couldn't believe it. They heard his story, which means someone's out there listening.
By giving $11 a month, you're joining us on our mission to do good. Go to T2T.org now.
You deserve high quality. You really do. At Balance of Nature, we don't cut corners. We could cut corners or extract individual vitamins and minerals rather than source whole foods. But that's not who we are. We don't isolate one specific part and sell it alone. Why? Because phytonutrients are woven into the whole plant. Everything works together as one complete package the way nature intended. Balance of Nature supplements aren't dried juice or a powdered extract. They are a vibrant mix of ingredients of 47 whole fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers. Each ingredient then goes through a tailored vacuum-cooled process, is grounded into a fine powder, and packed into plant-based capsules in order to preserve those naturally occurring phytonutrients. We are real ingredients only, always. Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and subscribe and save today.
This is my son. He started StoryWorth so I could share my stories with my grandchildren.
Now, just like I did with my dad, we'll email you weekly questions about your life. And after a year, we'll print your stories into a beautiful book. Get started at storyworth.com.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. These make a great gift. It's Trump time.
The U.S. men's hockey team has just arrived back in America, and they did not come home empty-handed, not in the least. 1 minute and 41 seconds, that's how long it took the United States men's hockey team to score a goal in the overtime, beating Canada and winning the gold medal in the Winter Olympics. The final score 2-1. Jack Hughes, who lost a tooth and was bloody, scored the game-winning goal. Not only is he an Olympian, he is a member of the New Jersey Devils NHL team. I guess Olympians, though, do they get a break? The Devils play in 2 days. This year, the NHL took a small break to allow their athletes to play in the Olympics, and we certainly are glad that they did. Sunday's win against Canada was America's first gold medal win in men's hockey since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. That was 46 years ago. That's when the Team USA beat the Soviet Union and went on to beat Finland in the final game. Member of the 1980 Miracle on Ice U.S. men's Olympic team, medal hockey team, and four-time Stanley Cup winner Ken Morrow joins me. Nice to see you, Ken. And do you have any idea, I know it was a thrill for you in 1980, do you have any idea what kind of thrill you gave the rest of us in 1980 when you won that?
We had no idea, and I'm sure these players don't have any idea the impact that they're having right now. I think the hockey gods were smiling on us yesterday. Yesterday was the 46th anniversary, February 22nd, of our Miracle on Ice game. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am. All of our team, our 1980 team, are thrilled to welcome these new gold medalists back home.
Well, it certainly is a thrill. And just to say one other thing about 1980, it was Al Michaels said, do you believe in miracles, the sportscaster, as it was happening. So that's hence the name Miracle on Ice. And you're a big guy. You're 6'5", so that nobody could get around you. So that was very convenient. That helped us as well.
Well,
that helped us as well.
I heard you describe, I think Al Michaels said it best back in 1980. It was the Cold War being played out on a sheet of ice in Lake Placid back in those days.
Did the Soviets say anything to you?
No, there was obviously a communication gap there, but actually one of the doctors on our team spoke Russian, so he was able to talk to a lot of the players after the game. And I know the one thing he said was they were so surprised at how strong we came out in that game. It wasn't a week and a half before that. They had beat us 10-3 in Madison Square Garden. So I think we caught them by surprise.
Why did it take 46 years?
Well, you know, if you look at USA Hockey before 1980, we were certainly quite a ways down on the world stage. And I think 1980 was the beginning of inspiring a whole new generation of players. I've heard the stories for the last 46 years of people coming up to me, telling me that that's when they either became a fan, became a player, started following hockey. And then we saw the next generation in the mid-90s of the USA Hockey stars that were born from what happened in 1980. And now here we are, a third generation of all these stars and superstars that we got to watch win a gold medal yesterday.
And what a thrill too for the women's team won a gold. I mean, the women haven't been participating in hockey in the Olympics, I think, until the end of the 1990s. So that's, I mean, the United States took both of them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a monumental day for USA Hockey. As you said, the women's team, you know, they've been growing the women's sport of hockey for the last 20 years, starting with the late 90s, Camry Granado and all those terrific players. And now I think that's maybe the fastest growing part of youth hockey right now is women's hockey.
Were you nervous watching this game?
I've told people watching a game for me is much harder than playing in a game. I always felt like I had some type of control when I was on the ice. Sitting there watching on TV, I have no control. And I'm one of those people that I have to maybe walk into another room when the game is on TV.
It's just, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, it's so extraordinary, and it's, you know, so much fun. It's so good for America, isn't it, when we win the gold medal? And it's, you know, especially, I mean, there were a number of gold medals won, but especially when it's a team and they all work so hard together, it makes a difference, doesn't it? When you guys, when you have people helping you, it makes a difference.
Well, I've heard the stories again for 46 years. I've heard the stories of the wave of patriotism that swept our country at that time. You know, strangers hugging strangers on airplanes, people pulling over on the side of the road, and tears in their eyes. Everybody was an American, and I saw a lot of that yesterday. I was at a watch party at 6 in the morning here in Kansas City, and people started singing the national anthem after that final goal was scored. So yes, you know, it's just a reminder that we're all Americans. We can put differences aside, especially when something like this happens. And boy, it was just, it's a morning I'll never forget, being there yesterday.
Well, that morning you won't forget yesterday. We also won't forget the one that you missed when we were all watching you in 1980. So I've had it twice. You've only had it once. But you get the gold medal. Anyway, Ken Morrow, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greta.
Okay. Now look at the celebrations inside the locker room after Team USA's win. Yes, you saw that right. FBI Director Kash Patel joining Team USA to celebrate in the locker room. The FBI says Patel was in Milan on official business, and while Patel was there, he got to watch the gold medal game live. Patel says he was then invited into the locker room, and it looks like they all had a ball. Patel is a longtime hockey fan, and he called it the greatest game ever created. Now, many are criticizing Patel for his locker room celebration, but come on, give me a break. Who wouldn't have jumped at the chance to be there and to celebrate? I would have jumped at it, too. Coming up, gold medals are good. Medals made out of steel, not so good. We're going to explain when the record continues.
Newsmax.
Shoots it straight. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax. Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide.
Real news for real people.
I'm Yalmer Heinrich. I'm in the nutritional business, primarily selling plant-derived minerals. Now, after being in this business for 43 years, owning a cancer hospital in Mexico, and associating with some of the most knowledgeable nutritional people in the world, I came to this conclusion. The world is sick due to a lack of minerals in our food, which is caused by a lack of minerals in topsoil. There is an incredible and proven nutritional product on the market that can overcome this problem. It's Immuno 150. This unusual food supplement contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There's nothing like it. Now watch the 3 videos on our website and place your order for what may be the best food supplement in the world. Now Immuno 150 is different, it's real, it's powerful, it's helped thousands, and we believe it enjoys the highest reorder rate in the industry. Thank you and God bless.
The Omaha Steaks semi-annual sale is back. Right now, you'll save 50% site-wide on America's best steaks, chicken, burgers, and so much more. All backed by our 100% guarantee that you'll love every bite. And for a limited time, when you go to omahasteaks.com/TV, you'll get 12 Omaha Steaks burgers free with your order. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today and save big on the quality you deserve.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. So Nobella changed that.
Introducing the new Lift EX. For just one visit, total body transformation.
I decided to give Sonobello a try. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is our breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative that sculpts, tightens, and lifts your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside. And Lift EX is exclusively available at Sonobello. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever. Call to book your free consultation today.
I'm Dr. Christopher Davis. It's not typical for a supplement company to consult a cardiologist, but Human did. That's because Human is different. Founded in partnership with the University of Texas, formulated with clinically studied ingredients for healthy blood pressure and energy support. This is modern-day cardiovascular support, recommended by more cardiologists than any other beet brand. I believe in Human because their supplements aren't just science-backed, they're science-born. Only Human.
Police in Irvine, California are using a little Olympic humor. Officers showed off their own game of curling. They swept handcuffs across the floor and then they posted it. And in their post, the department writes, quote, Olympians chase gold medals. Impaired drivers earn stainless steel bracelets, end quote. Those bracelets, of course, referring to the handcuffs. Although it was a fun video, you can see it was a message against driving under the influence.